you don't know me, I'm Nancy Hoffman-Vaniak, and I'm CEO of the Greater San Fernando Valley Chamber. And I want to welcome everyone today to our webinar on maximizing social media for your business and brand. This webinar is going to help you maximize your time and build your brand and online presence. And we're going to talk about where do your customers live online, where to spend your time, and cost-effective content creation and efficient strategy. Our presenter today is Raychel. I never say this right. Espiritu? Did I say it right this time?
Espiritu.
Espiritu.
Yes.
Espiritu. Raychel Espiritu. Raychel is a lost. Oh, wait, Femi, are we recording?
Yeah, it says recording.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, well, that's going to be right in the recording. Right, we're going to start right here when we get to the recording. Sorry, I want to make sure. Raychel is a Los Angeles native with over 12 years experience in the digital marketing space. She obtained her bachelor's degree from Cal State University Northridge and has worked for large corporate brands, small businesses, marketing agencies, and startups. She previously taught digital marketing at General Assembly and has experience with influencer marketing and tech PR. While director at ToolBoxLA, Southern California's largest innovation lab, she received the California Small Business of the Year Award in June 2019. Raychel is an enthusiastic, personable go-getter that specializes in brand awareness, business development, community building, social media, and paid advertising. Meditation is a big part of her personal development, and she loves being a connector in the SoCal startup ecosystem. Time permitting today, Rachel's going to take Q&A from you and have some hands-on learning where she can look at your brand and social media presence and see what your brand is saying online. This webinar is actually part one of a two-part series. You don't have to go to the other one or vice versa. If people aren't here, they could just attend the second one. On April 28th, we are going to have a Boost with Facebook webinar. And that webinar is to help businesses reach their audiences and recover from the disruptions of COVID-19 and enable you to learn how to use Facebook and Instagram technology to grow your business, to learn new skills. So Rachel's really going to give you the whole over picture, and then Facebook is going to focus in obviously on what programs they have available. So now about today, a few housekeeping tips. Please keep yourself on mute during the presentation. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat and we will take them either as we go or at the end. We'll have to see how the presentation is going. You can also raise your hand using the reaction tool in your toolbar. And then we'll take those questions also between the chat and the raise hand feature. We are recording this webinar, as you just found out, and it will be posted on the Chamber's YouTube channel. So take it away, Raychel.
All right. Thank you so much, Nancy. Really excited to be here today. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. All right. Okay. Get started. Okay. View and present. So pretty much going over everything related to social media. And also please feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions to ask. Right, I want this to be more interactive instead of just me sharing a little bit about what's going on here. So, I mean, why social media? We all know the numbers, right? Where social media is around the world, and just to kind of give you an overview of how many people are in the world, how many people have mobile phones, the internet users, how many active social media users. So that way, if you know, I hear a little feedback. Okay. That way, if you're thinking, oh, should I do social media, just to know the sheer numbers of people that are online is a force to be reckoned with that will only continue to mobilize. And so why do we even use social media? Remembering that it's part of the customer decision journey, right? I mean, ultimately, we're here to increase our brand and to gain customers. And not one specific channel reaches everyone effectively. So it's coming up with a cohesive, holistic strategy and identifying that for each one. And looking here at this customer decision journey, right? Essentially how someone will consider, evaluate, buy, and enjoy. And also we want to convert our customers to be advocates, right? That's the biggest social proof that we're looking for here. For example, like if I go somewhere, just say I go to a nice restaurant, I really enjoy it, the food is good, I'll check in on Facebook, I'll post a photo of the meal, and then everyone's like, wow, where did you go? What is that, right? So that is what we're looking for, advocates. Any questions so far? No? And to get a little scientific here, prospect quality and conversion probability. So essentially we're looking for prospects, right? Potential customers, which is Does this prospect resemble your target customer, and how much so? And then the conversion probability. Is this person actually going to buy or sign up? How strong is their intent, right? That's really what we're looking for with social media to drive brand awareness and ultimately sales. And so social media is, the overarching goal is brand awareness, building your brand awareness, building the brand equity. And through that, we're also engaging with the customer, great storytelling, building relationships, nurturing those relationships. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but I just wanted to put it out there to make sure we all have a baseline for, again, looking at what our intention is with social media. Knowing that these 4 key points should always be top of mind when you're creating your content and when you're engaging with your customer online. These 4 points should always be top of mind. And so when we're building brand equity, we know the value of large brands, Nike and Coca-Cola and so forth, and because they've done a lot to invest in the brand equity. And that's essentially, you are the leading brand in your industry. And so for those small businesses, local service-based businesses, that brand equity has a lot to do with customers who are like in your corner, right? Your customers, your advocates, people who, the word of mouth, which is a lot what we do here at the chamber, right? Where people, hey, I know someone that provides this service. I know someone that, is able to provide, this product and so forth. And so always coming back to building the brand equity through your social channels, because that will ultimately, with loyalty, awareness, familiarity, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it takes about 6 times for someone to hear your brand's name for it to become part of their awareness, right? So there's the first time. So that's why a lot of times if you do what's called a remarketing campaign, if you notice that, the ads that follow you around, you notice you visit a website and all of a sudden that ad is following you, it's because of the psychology of remarketing, is that it takes about 6 times repetition in order for a brand to really, sort of get in someone's headspace. And so looking at brand awareness and sales. So also understanding social media, yes, while it does drive sales, this is more of the long game, right? We're in it for the long haul. We're here for building our brand equity. So also not getting frustrated if you're not seeing tangible results right away, that it's the consistent and persistent use of social media that will ultimately drive sales. And so looking again at this conversion probability, there's, the unreliable part, that's something that, and again, for those of you that have used different, Yelp or any sort of review site, and you see people that have these negative reviews, right? There's that unreliable aspect to it. So if you own your narrative through storytelling and engagement and customer relationship building on social media, that reliability increases, which increases sales. So here's a bit of a matrix to understand the brand awareness and sales in terms of our prospect quality and conversion probability and where social media lies on that spectrum. And so when we look at, here's the different digital channels. And so with affiliate marketing, that is like direct to consumer, ROI focused, all about numbers, conversion, click-through rate, sales. Like that is the ultimate highest driver of performance-based marketing is affiliate marketing, right? You see that's high in terms of prospect quality and conversion probability. Affiliate marketing is top. And then somewhere in the middle, right, we have display, social media, generic search and so forth, retargeting, email. So really understanding the overall mix of all the different digital channels and digital marketing components that are helping to drive your brand with sales and brand awareness, to know where social media lies on that, in that mix, in that matrix. So is there any questions here? Or is it pretty straightforward?
No, this is really good.
Okay, cool. And so what does it mean to be good at social? Always coming back to shareable, relevant, value-driven content. For me, the brands that I follow, especially because I'm a marketer, I'm in social media, I like brands that share content that I can digest. I'm like, that is of value to me. So people that share, hey, tips on how to grow your email list, right? Things like that. And so how can one tailor that idea to your business and brand. So let's say, for example, I don't know, someone that provides like financial services, your content should be value driven in terms of, if I go to your page and I see this great tidbits of knowledge that are beneficial and add value to my life, I'm more likely to follow and share to my community. So again, for me, where I'm at and just in my personal journey, I'm really looking at building my 401k, looking at investments and so forth. So I'm at that point where I'm kind of looking ahead to building my nest egg, so to speak. And so if I go to a page that is a financial planner, but I don't see any valuable information or anything that I see that shows this person as a thought leader or an expert in their domain knowledge, less likely to reach out, right? And so really about understanding the sociology and the psychology, it's not so much the technology, right? I mean, that is a key piece of it, but we're looking here at social proof as a huge thing. So people that also, and that's why if you use Instagram or Twitter, if you go to a page, they will show you who else follows this brand that is your friend or follower that you follow. So for example, if I go to a certain page, it'll tell me, XYZ plus 12 other people you follow this brand, because that is social proof, right? That is where, again, which is just like word of mouth marketing, essentially. And so now let's dive into channel overview. So again, I'm sure a lot of you know this, but just want a quick overview, right? Of like social media explained, and really understanding each channel and essentially knowing how each how customers engage with each channel, so that way you can organically infiltrate the channel without seeming out of touch, right? That's the most important part. Don't want to seem like don't have understanding of how each channel works, because your brand will seem out of touch and then instantly can be written off as like, okay, well, they don't even know how to do this. How are they going to know how to, I don't know, fix my 401k and so forth. I will say, just for me, like personally, and working with certain companies, you don't have to be on all of these channels. And it's very important to know that you don't have to be on all of these here. And then if you personally don't use like Snapchat or TikTok or any of these newer ones, probably best not to engage on it. And especially knowing that your customer, and that again, if your customer is Gen Z, right? Like 16, 18, 20, 21, 18, right? If that demographic, then it's important to understand the channels. But if you're looking for, if you're like a B2B looking for, say, other professionals, then you want to be on somewhere like LinkedIn, right? Or Facebook, because the demographic skews a little older there. And also thinking about like the nature of your business. Is it something very visually appealing, right? Are you an artist that's selling art, or do you create nail designs, or right? So thinking, is it something very visually appealing? And if so, then that's somewhere like Instagram would be great, right? Here's a photo of my tacos. We all know that Instagram is very like photo based. You can't post without a photo. So if you have a visually appealing brand, and even if you don't, to think, how can I create visually appealing content, right? And so we'll get into that a little bit down the line, because a lot of times people like to follow brands that provide valuable, shareable content information. So how you can create really easy, like billboards of sort with valuable, shareable content. Any questions so far?
Rachel, what channel would you say is best for baby boomers?
I would say Facebook.
I agree. I'm a baby boomer. Oh, I like Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Facebook for sure is the top one. I would definitely say, LinkedIn, just because that's where, again, professional people live. But those are the top two ones. So even understanding, oh, I see here. Yeah. So really understanding how the platform works, and then diving into that, because how do you bridge the gap between baby boomers and millennials? That is a good question. I mean, definitely just what comes, it's a good question, because I would say trying to create content that is geared towards like younger millennials, and as someone who doesn't like necessarily hasn't taken time to really like read studies or engage with them in your day-to-day life and so forth, then I would bring in someone, like hire someone that has a specialty around that, right? That markets specifically to that demographic. Someone has experience with working with those brands. Definitely bring in someone like that. Okay, I'm gonna go back, share my screen. But if just, let's just say if you don't, right, we're on a budget here, like how do you, right? Because not everyone has a budget to bring in marketing experts and research and content and so forth. So what I would do is I'm all about research. So I had a great mentor that taught me success leaves clues. So looking at what brands are successfully doing that in that space in your vertical and looking at the type of content that they're creating and going from there. And even maybe poking fun a bit at it, you know, okay, boomer, right? That's like one of the phrases that the younger generations use. Okay, boomer. Well, this boomer is here to let you know, like, here's some mistakes that I did, or here's something that I've learned, and we're here to help, and this, right? And so again, always kind of gravitating back to your valuable, shareable content. So are you creating content that's valuable and shareable, relevant to millennials? So is maybe someone would like to share what their business is, if it's a service or a product, and we can maybe dive in a little bit around that.
Sure, I don't mind going or speaking about it.
Sure.
I don't know who brought the question. Just to answer the question, I don't think you can bridge the gap, in my opinion, between a baby boomer and a millennial. I've been trying for a while, but I don't think you can. And I've learned in marketing that you have to know your consumer. So your consumer isn't everyone in the world. Disneyland may do a good job of marketing to everyone, but they have a different service, right? Whereas me, I'm selling a product that's really geared towards protecting somebody's home or car or business. And so not everyone is in that age gap. So the way I've been doing is I just trying to get to know my consumers, and some of them are millennials, pre-millennials, which I'm at, or a baby boomer, but very specifically, I'm communicating to them all very differently.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really helpful. But anyway, so to me, my opinion is you have to really know who your consumer is, so you know exactly how to market them, because not everyone is on Facebook, not everyone uses, Instagram, and so.
Well, what if you're trying to break into a new demographic, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you have a new product that specifically targets this new demographic. How do you create a marketing campaign around that, right? So that's something too, right? Because it's easy to say, well, those guys don't get us, we'll just leave them out. But what if you do have a service or a product that can be beneficial to, let's say, elder millennials, right? I'm a millennial, I'm 36, but I'm in the market to purchase a house, to get life insurance, right? So really not writing it off completely. Maybe not Gen Z, which is, the 18 to 24-year-olds, but the elder millennials, so to speak, that are now starting to purchase homes and get insurance and all those things. So how do you market to them specifically? And again, it's coming back to this, understanding the different platforms where they live and creating valuable content that will show you as a thought leader, that shows, hey, I know what I'm talking about. Here's some free information for you to digest and do your research. And when you're ready, come back to me, because I've been doing this for 10, 20 years, and I'm here to help you.
Great, thank you. It was really helpful.
Rachel, there's a couple others in the chat. Someone's asking about their business is children's fashion.
Oh, children's fashion. Well, but again, so if it's children's fashion, your market is mothers, right? So it won't necessarily be, you're not really catering to the kids. It's more to the moms. So understanding what do moms, or maybe is it young moms, right? So really understanding, really defining, and even the type of moms that are into fashion, right? So what is their demographic in terms of how much they make per year? And we're going to dive into customer persona in a bit as well, but really understanding ultimately who is making the purchasing decision, which brings us back to the prospect, right? The prospect probability and the conversion probability, and understanding who is your customer that has the cash flow to make the purchases, right? Let's see, and Medicare, small group employer coverage, financial services, not so much. So Medicare, meaning like
Over 65.
Over 65. Okay. So I think that is, yeah, maybe Facebook, email, but this is going to be, that demographic wants word of mouth. They want referrals. They want to know that it's trusted. So a little different. But if you are looking to break into a younger demographic, then, you know, maybe consider your strategy for how you start, like I mentioned, starting to reach people who are in, sorry, let me just get back.
Well, and also they mentioned small group employer coverage. So like, for instance, you have 2 employees, that's also their demographic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to throw something in as you're talking about this, because you mentioned about being an expert and a thought leader, and that's something that we always try to convey to our new to any member. When you're a member of the chamber, you get an opportunity to write an advertorial about your business that goes in an e-newsletter. And I'm always trying to encourage people not to write a story about, like, here's what Medicare is, but why someone would want to use you as the Medicare person, give like tips on what it does or whatever. And that's exactly what Rachel's talking about. That's a different platform. Obviously, that's just the Chamber's newsletter, but all of these lessons that we're learning today carry across to even that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So now, again, the digital landscape is wide and vast, and really understanding where social fits into the mix, right? So knowing the difference between paid, earned, and owned media.
I'll get stuff done this way.
Sorry? What was it? What did I? Sorry,
I think he wasn't muted.
Okay. So understanding, right, like the matrix of what media is. So there's social media, and then understanding within social, the paid media. So which would be social media paid marketing, right? So running a paid Facebook ad, running a paid Instagram, Twitter ad, right? So paying to get your reach through those social channels. And again, so I got my start in digital marketing 2009. I worked for an affiliate marketing agency, and that allowed me to really see of like the purpose from a sales point of view, how my dollars, when I invest in a specific digital channel, how I'm looking for, you know, click-through rates, clicks, impressions, leads, conversions, and so forth. So understanding if you're going to do social and you're going to do paid social, it's important to have those metrics in place. Well, I have a $500 budget that I'm going to put on Facebook, and really optimizing and making sure what is my cost per click, what is my cost per lead, you know, what is my conversion rate for each lead, and really having that set up and tracking that, right? So that's a whole other side of social media, is the paid social media. But we're kind of taking a step back and looking overall at using social media for building your brand equity. Because if you don't have a great social media brand with the brand equity, and you do the paid, and it shows up in someone's feed, and they click through and they look and they're like, you know, it just seems as it doesn't have the depth or the weight of it. And so, are there any questions here about this mix and really kind of understanding what the difference for the type of, you know, whether it's owned, earned, and paid, and the social platforms here? And so so we're not going to dive into it too much, but the earned media, which is like the partnerships and the content, right? So getting like a guest blog post somewhere, things like that. And then the owned properties, which is your own website, but then the social platforms within the owned, which is all the your social channels. And now I'd like to focus on Google and Yelp. I think, again, if you're with the chamber, you probably have some sort of local aspect to it, and just want to highlight the value of these 2 pages. So previously I ran ToolBoxLA, which was a co-working space in the San Fernando Valley. And this was our main focus here, because what Google and Yelp, if your brand is active on these 2 pages, they show up higher in the search algorithm. So making sure, first and foremost, your business pages are up to date. You have very clear photos, you have all your information, the hours that you were open, a phone number that will ring directly to someone who will answer it, right? Like your webpage information, again, making sure that. And so for what I would do is I would post on my Google and Yelp business pages at least twice a week. That's what I would do, twice a week. So whether it's posting a deal or new you know, new content, new customers, new products, anything related to the business, I'm consistently posting on Google and Yelp. And it's interesting because it's not really thought of as a social network, right? In that sense of where it's not social like Facebook or Twitter, but there is a social aspect because also your customer can post here as well, right? I can post a Google review, I can post a Yelp review, I can upload a photo, and a few negative reviews can really affect the business. So you want to make sure that you, again, own the narrative on these channels as well, and they are consistently posting. And if there's any negative reviews, you can respond and rectify that right away. Because, and again, we had a few negative reviews for people that, you know, were dissatisfied for whatever reason. And because I reached out directly, I responded, I commented, they later went and changed the review because of the fact of, you know, I was able to, you know, respond. And that's ultimately, customers want to know that you care and provide that solid reputation as a brand that cares about their customers. And these two channels will really display that. Any questions here about how to create a page or how to optimize these pages? No? Okay. Let's see. Alrighty, moving on. So we're going to dive in a little bit. Facebook, it's a place for community. So always remember, it's about community. I would recommend using your personal Facebook page to engage with groups, events. Facebook groups is an amazing place to get your content seen and to engage one-on-one with people. And again, going back to what the beginning of our presentation, where we talked about brand awareness, engagement, storytelling, building relationships, that all comes down to community, and community as a core focus for how are you telling your brand story and engaging with your community in a way that's relatable and understandable. I mean, that's ultimately really what we're here to do. And so for me, I use my personal Facebook page a lot. So I didn't, you know, post anything that was too controversial. I made sure that I use my page to reach directly to my customer on that. So whether it's in Facebook groups, providing shareable content. So it's not always going to be a direct link back to my webpage. Oh, did you know that you can sign up for this amount and get 20% off, right? I mean, that's like, people know, right, when you're selling, but being a consistent person, hey, this is a great site to use where you can find product reviews. Oh, did you guys know that there's, right? So consistently providing valuable information. So that way, when you drop in some sales stuff for your own personal brand, it's well received, right? If we're just going to be someone with a bullhorn blasting about our own company, it won't be well received. And so here's just some best practices for me that I think are absolutely important. So Facebook Live, I still think that there's some value in that because Facebook still wants that to be seen in the algorithm. So whether it's going live for a new product review or interviewing a customer, I highly recommend that, but also to schedule it and come up with a content strategy around it. Alternating the types of posts that you put in. So plain text, the value of plain text, because a lot of times people always put photos or videos or links. I would even stay away from links in the post because Facebook does not want people leaving their platform. So really understanding that. And then making sure that your Facebook page is well managed, right? There's side tabs, so making sure the order of those side tabs are perfect and aligned and that the links click through. And even creating milestones, because that will show up in the feed. So, you know, the date that you opened, you know, oh, our 100th customer, or, you know, anything like that, right? And even personal milestones, you know, would be great to share. You know, our business owner got married, I don't know, something like that, right? To humanize and personalize your brand as well. People don't necessarily use hashtags or search. I mean, I don't know if anyone here has actually like clicked a hashtag and searched through, but it's not as used as other platforms. And also if you have any other profiles or partners, tag their profile to increase your reach, making sure that the correct image sizes, and that's, I'll show you a tool to use for that to make sure that you have the right image size after in a few slides. And again, going back to posting links in the comments. right? So if you put it in the actual post, you can see this, try looking at some pages. If you notice, posts with links don't get shown, but if you put the link in the comment, it's more likely to show up in someone's feed. And just keeping your profile and your header photo, keeping that updated, keeping it fresh. I recommend changing it every quarter. So, you know, depending, right, if it's springtime, right, how can you integrate something related to spring or in the fall or anything, you know, relevant, but continually keeping it fresh and updated. Questions, we all know, spark engagement. And then also what's called syndicating Facebook content to Twitter, because it never shows up properly. So if it says share to Twitter, share to here, I personally don't think that is a good idea because it will never format properly. It doesn't have the same feel as when you post natively. And I'll show you again some tools to use to be able to do so. And
Raychel,
yes.
quick question. Can you give us an example of the variety on the follow the 80-20 rule, in this case using Facebook?
Sure. So 80-20, meaning, you know, it's not about me. So 80% of the content should be something that's valuable and shareable. So did you know that majority of Americans don't have a savings account, and you know, this and that, right? So coming up with content that is valuable, that provides value to their lives, and that can be used, and that's not directly related to your brand, so to speak, right? Maybe it's related to your industry, of course, right? Because you are a leading expert in your domain of expertise. And so communicating that information on your channel. And then 20% being, you know, direct sales, meaning we have a new promotion, we have a new product, we are offering this today. Click here to schedule a time to get on our calendar, right? So 20% of your content on Facebook should be that like direct sale material and content. But 80% should be more about the value of the information, sharing your knowledge.
Thank you. That was very helpful. And can you just explain to me what the syndicate means? What does syndicating on Facebook mean?
Oh, sure. So there's a way where on Facebook, there's like a little link or button that says share to Twitter, share to Instagram, right? Especially if you're using your mobile phone to post, and then you do share, right? Syndicate means like to share. So it's the same content, but just shared to that platform.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Raychel.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome. Any other questions there? Okay, moving on. So Twitter. So, you know, Twitter is a fire hose. There's a statistic that a tweet's life cycle is only 14 minutes. So meaning after you tweet 14 minutes, it is gone into the ether. Essentially, it's like just such a fire hose of information, but it's great for real time and communication. So if you're in some sort of, you know, journalist, media, publication, right? You do live events. It's a great way for you to use Twitter and engage your audience. However, if it's not your jam, I would stay away from Twitter just because of the fire hose of information. But again, and then Twitter is also one of the only few social networks that really drives click-through traffic. So let's just say you're a publication, or, you know, you have a content, you have, you know, a blog site. Part of your business model is driving traffic to a content page. Definitely integrate Twitter into your strategy. It's great for discovery and communication and click-through, but I wouldn't say as terms of localized, it's not as, just in my opinion, I don't think it's it's not a great channel for that. But I just wanted to cover it here because I know a lot of people ask about how do I use Twitter? What's a great Twitter strategy? And so if you're on it already, it's important that you're engaging. I would say doing at least 3 to 5 posts per day. And so if you don't have the bandwidth for that, I would definitely recommend, you know, putting your focus elsewhere than Twitter. But in my experience, I've used Twitter a lot for live events, you know, because you can use specific hashtags and engage people. And as people are at the event and they're following along on the hashtag, right? It's good. It's just that live, that real time. But you think after that, then it's gone. but it's great for live events. And just again, coming back to best practices, talking here about the lifetime value, right, is 14 minutes. And then also using industry hashtags relevant to whatever your industry is. And incorporating images. So looking at the Twitter news feed, those with images take up more real estate on the page. So it's a way to kind of make a little bit bigger splash. Of course, there is that for, the character limit. So also being mindful of the content you're creating on Twitter and being mindful of, the character limit. And just also a little tidbit that the media attached to tweets, they don't take up character counts. And now coming to Instagram, it's definitely brand awareness, brand building. It's like a billboard essentially. And just think of Instagram as a billboard. And so what are you going to put? If you're going to put a billboard up in Times Square, if you're putting a billboard up on Ventura Boulevard, what is it going to say? What is it? So making sure that the focus is it's eye candy, visually compelling, like it's something that's really engaging. So sharp, clear images. And so what I did a lot for Toolbox is I worked with student photographers, people that were just starting out their photography business, had them come in and just do a big photo shoot, creating a lot of just general content around, and that is called Evergreen Content, meaning content you can use at any time. So bringing this person in to help them build their portfolio for brands, just get at least 50 to like 100 photos, and then using that as part of your content. So whether if you have a physical location, photos of your space, or if you have something, if you're out in the field, maybe photos with you and customers, going out, maybe, sitting at your desk or some sort of office environment and so forth. So, and again, going back to success leaves clues, looking at what other people are doing on their pages, seeing, okay, this looks nice and this doesn't, looking at the top tier brands. Again, the Coca-Colas and the Nikes and Oreo, even Clorox, actually. If you take a minute, if you look at Clorox on Instagram, you would think, okay, like this is bleach. How would they even make something like this relevant? So, but you have here, they have a lot of how-tos, how to disinfect services, right? Things like that. So looking at what brands are doing and then following suit there. And again, best practices, great photos. I personally don't think you should do collage photos. That's just me, because when I looking at the Instagram page as a billboard, the collage photos sort of dilute that in a sense. Using geolocation when possible. So again, if your business is targeted locally, you want to, target, check in geolocation, San Fernando Valley, Chatsworth, Northridge, right? Wherever you are, tag that, because sometimes people will search that, printers in Northridge, right? Or whatever service it is, making sure that you're geo-specific on your posts. And then also just no links in the caption, because the links aren't clickable, and you don't want to have this long URL link in the caption that isn't clickable. The only clickable link is in the bio. So just, keeping that in mind and not putting the link in the caption. Okay, so now getting into content, right? So now that we know what each channel does and what it's for, what is our strategy around that? And so like someone else had mentioned earlier, thinking of your target demographic, really building up that buyer persona. So understanding like, what do they like? What magazines do they read? What movies do they like? What do they eat? Like really like diving in and dialing down to that, because that will really, help you with the strategy. And then also too, like where to play, right? What channels to focus on. And so we did an overview of that. The consistency. I will say that is the most challenging part of social media. If you do not have like a dedicated social media manager and you're doing it on your own business, that consistency is key. And so I'm going to give you a few tips on how to be consistent without putting a lot of time in. So And again, making sure your profiles are completely optimized. Again, your billboard, your branding, everything looks nice. Nothing is pixelized. There's no broken links. There's no incorrect information, no typos, kind of just basic stuff. Again, humanizing the brand, being a thought leader, and automation tools. So is there anyone who is familiar with Hootsuite or Buffer or Sprout Social? Anyone here? No, I've used it before.
I just heard that Hootsuite is changing their pricing. So I think a lot of people that I know are on, I think they're going to Sprout Social.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then there's a question in the chat. Do you suggest anything if you are still working on your project? I'm still in the beginning stages of my business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what I would recommend is building up the brand. So making sure that your content is there, because ultimately when you premiere, ta-da, like if there's no audience, right, it's just just make a little splash, right, a little pebble in the ocean. But if you are able to build your audience ahead of time, and I would stay away from like big things coming, right, because everyone has big things coming, it's that idea of everybody. But we're building our audience, we're working on this project, here's what we're doing, follow us, stay up to date. And this will be essentially, targeting your friends and family, targeting your local community, your business partners, and so forth. I would still work on building up the brand, so that way when you do premiere, you are able to create a bit of a splash. Okay, so again, just going back to making sure we understand each platform, using it natively, so signing up for an account, engaging with it for some time and seeing how other people are engaging with it, and paying attention to what's popular and how people interact and react to that content on each brand. For brands, and again, going back to making sure your brand is not out of touch. So taking some time to understand the platform, seeing what other brands are doing, and then with that information, coming up with a bit of a strategy around that. Again, Nancy, will you read this for me here? No one ever said.
No one ever said, I love Facebook because I can catch up on the latest news from favorite brands and share their self-serving product plugs with my friends, coworkers, and loved ones.
Yeah.
Well, I actually probably have some friends who say that sarcastically.
Yeah. Right. So it's like, and again, we know that there's a lot of news and branding content on that, but right, no one ever said that. So so we don't want to interrupt the experience. It's entertainment. Ultimately, social media is entertainment. I mean, I go when I have some downtime, I'm bored, I'm waiting in line, I go to social media. So if making sure that your content doesn't interrupt that experience, right, there's a little bit of entertainment, which again, coming always back to the valuable content, something that's valuable and shareable. Even if it's a little funny or silly, like I think that's great to err on that side because it's social, right? When people are thinking about being a social situation, it's better to have a little bit more lighthearted playfulness around that.
Eric is asking, what is popular? And Eric, what are you talking about?
What is popular?
It's a general question. It's really to be silly. Like, what is popular? Is it the cool food? Is it the cool hot spicy chicken sandwich? Is it the breakup of so-and-so? Like, how do we follow that? When do we follow that? So it's just meant to be a broad general question.
Yeah, I have something in here related to that, but I would recommend checking out Google Trends. So if you just go to Google.com, go into Google and type in Google Trends, it'll tell you all the different trending topics based on Google search volume, what's sort of, hot and relevant and so forth. And also going to Twitter, when you log on to Twitter, it'll tell you like on the right-hand side, right, trending tweets, trending hashtags and so forth. And even just going into Google News and like kind of seeing, something relevant to that. And obviously, celebrity news, celebrity breakups, your brand doesn't want to get involved in that because you don't want to also seem trivial, right? That's important. You want to have a bit of depth and weight and being a thought leader. So kind of engaging and tweeting about certain things related to that, we'd stay away from. But also, maybe you could even be a little cheeky, and talking about like well, everyone's worried about this, but we're over here still continuing to be the leader in insurance, right? Right. There's ways to be cheeky in that sense, or to be playful in that regard, but it's definitely, you know, it's up to your discretion to determine like how you want to engage in trending topics, for sure. Because again, coming back to our customers, what do they care about? What are they watching? What TV shows do they watch? Like if you have a certain demographic, and just say, you know, personal, like your customers love, I don't know, what's a big show, like Game of Thrones or something, or a new like popular TV show. You know, there was a new episode last night. I would definitely recommend humanizing your brand and saying, wow, what an episode last night. You know, could you believe that? Again, just making the content relatable and showing that you're still a human and that you're also involved in regular society. It's like, if we get too like focus on just like, here's my thing, here's what I'm doing, buy my stuff, it just stagnates in a way. You want to add value to the conversation in the way of like, how would you show up at a party, right? You wouldn't just say, here's my thing, right? You just kind of say, oh, wow, did you see this on the news last night? Or did you see this in the magazine, whatever. Again, just coming back to your customer and thinking about what other brands they like. Also thinking of what they don't like too. So knowing, well, if I like this brand, I definitely don't like this, right? So like if I like Harley Davidson, I do not like those other little, you know, scooters, right? So thinking about like what brands they don't like and coming up with the content around that. So any questions here? I just want to pause, make sure. I'm just going to look back at the chat and see that we, and I'll go into Hootsuite as well, and then a little bit at the end to kind of share my strategy around that. So how can we use the answers to these questions to tailor social content? So making sure, wow, ooh, aha, right? So again, coming back to the emotional response, making sure that what we're putting out there has one of these. So again, that's where coming back to a little bit of the lighthearted or playful, right? Laughter is always good because that's entertainment, right? So thinking, and so, but also not putting pressure on yourself, like, oh, I have to be funny. You can still have something that has affection, so how much you care about your customers. That's definitely something I would put on my social channels of like, this customer came in with this problem and we solved it. That is awe, right? Showing that we care about our customers. I mean, that's ultimately, if you don't have a way to, if we don't have a way to engage with humor, we definitely want to engage with affection, to showing that we care about our customers. I'm going to go back to this question here. How do we choose the best social media channel to get the best bang for the buck? Should we pay for advertising? Well, how do we choose the best social channel? Well, understanding your demographic. So understanding so this #1 selling item to toilet paper. Why? Because that's a good one. Again, coming back to choosing the best social media channels, understanding where your customer lives online. So I think, is that Richie? So who is your target customer? Like, what is their, at least the age demographic?
Well, we do credit card processing, so we're working with businesses only.
Okay, so B2B would be LinkedIn.
But you see, but we're dealing like with restaurants, and they'll be on Facebook because that's how they get to their clients. So I don't think I don't know the answer, but I don't think it's just like go to them on LinkedIn. I think there's going to be multiple social media channels that we need to use.
Well, also thinking about who the decision maker is for the point of sale and the point of purchase. Again, going back to that prospect probability, the conversion probability of who the person with the purchasing power is, and where do they live online as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, not making your content super complicated, right? So here's an example for like an audio brand, you know, records, someone shopping in records, right? And so, you know, simple content. I use this platform. It's Unsplash. I'm going to put the in the chat here. This is great for generic content that doesn't look like stock content. Yeah, it's great because it doesn't look like your general, Getty Images stock. It's a little more artistic and so forth. So, and also, just looking up different, and it's interesting, like I will come up with content. So let's say, for example, I'm premiering a new product. I'm promoting an event that has to do with something, related to founders. And so if I just search founders, you're going to have people in suits and this and that and that. But if I do something just to say with someone on the top of a mountain, right? Like something like that, right? Thinking about the mindset of a founder and what would appeal to them, and posting a photo of someone at the top of a mountain and saying, hey, we have this workshop coming up for how to scale your company. And here's a guy at the top of a mountain, right? So like coming up with those creative ways for content that's, again, likable, shareable, not making it too overly complicated. And so some questions to ask when posting. Is this too much text? I will say, right, we want to make sure we communicate, but in terms of the visual aspects, making sure it's not text heavy. It's very, very important. Because also if you want to promote a Facebook post, they won't, a lot of you might know this already, but they won't allow you to promote a post with over 20% text in the visual component, the photo. Making sure it's eye-catching, high quality, always making sure that it's high quality images. Does it look pixelated? Can you see the logo? If the logo is important, making sure that it's within the frame. Is the call to action visible? Is there something within the caption that you're, asking? So whether it's a question, again, going back to those four, whether if it's affection, laughter, the ahs, the oohs, the ha, right? So really, what is that call to action? Or even just the call to action for click through, sign up, purchase, buy, ask us for more information. And so considering the call to action, but again, also, so it seems like there's a lot of moving parts here, but it's like a delicate balance of knowing these questions to ask and remembering, okay, am I focusing too much? Am I 80-20, right? Is the 80-20 balance in play? And thinking, am I asking the person to do too much? A lot of times, I don't know if any of you have ran competitions, or again, this is another way to get people involved. If you're asking for people to do some sort of challenge or something, right? You don't want to make sure you're asking the person to do too much. Most likely just click or follow would be the most. And even then I wouldn't ask, again, thinking about 80-20. And also sensitive to current events. There's been a lot of changes that have happened in the last year and so just being sensitive to where your customer might be in terms of like their mental space, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual space, like where are they in relation to that? And just keeping that in mind. So talking about ads, right? Ads, the best ads are just great. This is great social content. So when you're planning any sort of like social media ad campaigns, really just deferring back to your social content. Useful, helpful, insightful, really showcasing that product. Also maybe relating it to timely pop culture and so forth, right? So just thinking if you're doing any sort of paid advertising, it's really just promoting your best social content. And so now I would love for any, questions here, final wrap up. If someone wants to share their social media presence, and then we can all take a look and dive in.
Why don't people put their social media URL in the chat, and then we can to share. How's that?
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah. Don't be shy. Don't worry, we won't.
We'll be kind.
I will be kind.
Do you want to use ours?
Sure.
Okay, because our Facebook sucks compared to Fumi on Instagram because I forget to do things. She's amazing. So
I haven't had any time. Oh, here, let's do Chris.
Yeah. You want to pull up Raychel and share it, or?
Yeah. Let's see. Share screen. Go here and share. All right. So
For being
now-
brave, Crystal.
okay, your fashion.
Thank you. I'm also still working on my product as well. So I've kind of run out of ideas of posting. I know I do have some great ideas I think I'd like to start posting about, but then I have a 2-year-old at home, so I get a little lazy. I get a little busy.
Yeah. Well, this is great. So first, clear your logo fits properly within the parameters here. So that's great. Product service, explore the world through fashion. That's great. In your hashtag, join our community. And then your link here. So this is all, right, kind of the basics. Everything is great here.
Oh, okay, great.
I love this. Humanizing the brand, right? Very cute. You're seeing, again, Easter theme, right? You're sharing a little bit about your personal life. Great hashtags. I would say, do you notice how this one, the ampersand breaks the hashtag?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just typing out symbols and numbers will break hashtags. So,
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
yeah.
I think I might also put too many hashtags because now I know to do 20. Sometimes I'll do 30, which is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's 20, 30 is about, this isn't bad. Also, a lot of people in the comment will put hashtags as well to keep it relevant, because a lot of times if I'm searching on Instagram, will show me the latest relevant content. So if you haven't, just say, so this is from a week ago or March 31st. Yeah, so you could even do hashtags again in the comment to push this closer to, to more relevant trending topics.
Oh, I didn't know you can do that. So add more hashtag. Okay.
In the comment.
Yeah.
This is great. So this is shareable content, right? This is value driven. Bloom where you were planted. Inspirational, aspirational.
Yeah, I also explained a little bit about me because I realized I wasn't, I want the company to be just like, I have to eventually have to take photos of myself and put them there, but I got to do that next.
No, but this is great. This is great. And you could even repurpose this from someone else's page, right? Snapshot it and tag the, photo credit, so forth. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, I also use, I don't use Hootsuite. I use Later actually.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good one. Thank you. So engaging with, right? So acknowledging your audience and your fans is great. This is nice. I will say something to elevate the brand, and especially since your brand is related to fashion and art, is having a consistent theme that's woven throughout here. So let's just say, so see here, this template,
Yeah.
with the colors, with the pink and the canvas, you kind of have it here, and here's a 2, but continuing that, right, with the same colors and the same theme. So here's, I mean, I know this is probably for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I have, that's one thing I do need to work on. Right now I'm rebranding myself, so I'm picking out my new brand colors. So once I have my brand colors, I'm really going to try and post with those colors. But that's something I'm working on now. But I know it needs to be a little more cohesive, especially I try and look at other brands to see, because, like where you just see it, a lot of other brands, they're really nice looking and they have the one color scheme. And I like to try that.
Yeah.
Rachel, it's 11 o'clock and I know some people only had till 11. So here's my idea. If you need to step off. And if Rachel has time, she can go over the rest of the ones that are in the chat, if that's okay, if she has time. So I want to remind everyone that we have the Booster Facebook on April 28th, which will be a great follow-up to this because it talks a little bit about the part about buying advertising, for your business. So hopefully you could join us on April 28th as well. And again, if you don't, you're welcome to step off. And if not, if Rachel has time, we're happy to continue.
Just one last thing that's funny, because that Bloom thing you liked on my Instagram, I actually used it from Canva. I love Canva. I think it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to share. This is a free tool, free resource, right? And then this is how you make sure that it's the right pixel dimensions for each social. So it'll tell you Instagram post, right? Instagram story. There's all these different things. So you can also do Twitter, right? And it'll tell you Twitter ad, header, post, everything related to Twitter, Facebook, right? Because each dimension, ad, the cover, event page color, post, shops color, story, right? Here's all the proper format, and there's tons of free templates that you can use. And then same thing for Instagram, right? Here's all this. All the social channels are listed on here. You just type it in and it already has it properly. And it's important because if it's not the proper dimensions and it's pixelated, it doesn't have that professional look to it. So, okay, now let's go back to, oh, so I wasn't sharing my screen. I thought I was. Okay, let's make sure here. So just, yeah, to show here on Canva, when I type in Facebook, here's all the different Facebook posts and so forth. And see how it has the dimensions here? So making sure that everything is properly formatted. So again, it seems like a lot of work, but once you get into a nice workflow, which again, for me, I dedicate Mondays to planning content, creating content, and scheduling content on Hootsuite. And then I just spend about 2 hours on Monday planning and putting everything out and scheduling, and then just let it run on automatic. And I usually do a consistent time. So every day at noon. So around noon, I just go back to check and see if the post went through and it engaged with the community around any comments, and go from there. So I would say that is, again, to be effective in terms of your time, you dedicate like 2 hours on a Monday or a Friday to creating, planning, and scheduling your content. It'll take off the burden of, this sort of pressure. I got to post, because coming up with something new each day isn't sustainable, but 1 to 2 hours once a week is very sustainable. So, okay, so let's go to here. Where was our next one? Okay, Facebook. All right, let's take a look here. All right, it's good, properly formatted, logo, nice, clear, header, contact us, information, just making sure that it clicks through. And then where it goes, welcome, contact page, great. This is nice. April 6th, okay, not too bad. Now this is good. This is shareable content, something that's relevant for people to know. Okay, so making sure that, so sharing more information that is relevant. This is the valuable shareable content. And then sharing some local history. This is great. So this is all shareable. But do you notice, see how this is a link outbound? And there's not much engagement here, right? Because Facebook will deprioritize in their algorithm outbound links. So I would say this is very text heavy here. Yes, important. We want to communicate all this information, but less text is always better here. This is nice. So we're getting a chance to see the people behind the brand. See, and so do you notice here, this is plain text, checking in at a specific place, right? So this brand is tagged and this shows up on this particular brand's page. So now you're reaching their audience as well. And then see here, we get a little engagement, right? Here's some history. So I see a lot of sharing from other pages as well. I would also encourage to do some of your own media. So coming up with your own original content to share. Because, there's a little bit of engagement here, but some of your own content I think would also help to increase.
That's too much work.
I know. We'll try maybe, an hour a day, an hour on Monday, and see if by planning it, aim for 5 posts or an hour on Monday and see if that is if that's a sustainable cadence within your overall work schedule. So, okay, this is great. That's it. And look at, okay, but look at the difference. When you talk about Shane, we appreciate you, a nice throwback photo. Look at all the engagement, right? I mean, 12 comments, 20 likes, right? The difference between here, where we get 2 likes because of the link. Humanizing the brand, celebrating people, you know? See, look in this with here, with the link, very text heavy, no engagement. So this is nice. Yeah, Happy New Year. Again, you know, timely, relevant content relating to what's going on. Cool. Okay.
We like to share a lot of our customers' posts too, because that engages them.
Is this, let's see here. Yeah, exactly. Celebrating your customers. Again, that's social proof, right? Celebrating your customers, showing their wins, how your product and service is making their life better, how you care about your customer. Okay, great. So nice. So you have all information here. Done very well. I would brighten this photo a little bit so your face pops, so we see who you are in the sense of, see how this is a little bit lighter. So this, I would just brighten your photo so we can see your face. Yeah, because see this photo here is a little brighter. So I would just put it for your logo, a brighter photo. All your information is here. Hours open now, right? This is great. All of your great, your email, phone number, so forth. This is great. Even the spacing here is nice. This is good here. And then what I would do in the comment, I would put a link. If there's any like specific link that someone needs to follow, put that in the comment. And this is nice here. Don't be left behind, learn the ABCs. Again, valuable content that's beneficial to people. So you see here, again, sharing more, humanizing your brand and sharing about what's going on gets more engagement. And ultimately, you know, engagement is part of the social proof. I will say, so this this image here, I like, it's nice, but it's a little text heavy and it looks like it's a photo of the screen. So this is where it's not necessarily properly formatted for the specific social platform. So just, I would take this, get the original version of it and post it. And I would even just only do the Zoom. I will teach you in a room. I will teach you now on Zoom. I would post that image only. And then with all the information in the
I guess
caption.
I think this is one of the ones that I uploaded when I first opened my business page. I mean, it's been created for years, but I finally got it running the beginning or the last quarter of last year.
Okay, yeah. So, but you see how, just say if I'm a potential customer and I'm looking through your brand and I'm looking kind of at past. So if something isn't as relevant or you notice it doesn't fit in the polished version of your brand, it's okay to delete older posts as you continue to refine and polish your brand.
So would you say it's recommendable to remove anything that already has passed, like previous events and things like that?
It's fine. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to, but because again, looking at the inventory for your page, you want something that is most relevant, that is timely, and that is polished, ultimately, making sure that the content is polished. So this is nice. Where would you go for a workcation? Yeah, so asking questions, get people engaged. Even from your personal page, I would go into the comment and then add and tag someone. Hey, what about, right? Just to kind of get someone that's in a friend or a family or a coworker, just to maybe start the conversation. That's a way to get some engagement going. oh, this looks like there's something wrong with the image here. So this, yeah, this is a great image, but I guess for whatever reason on the feed, it's not showing up properly. So
That's strange. Like I can see it on my end, so it's interesting that when it's loaded on your end, you don't see it.
yeah, sometimes image, maybe an image of one or more people. Interesting. Yeah, and sometimes it's probably just maybe something with the platform.
Yeah, and this too.
Yeah. So, but then this one is showing. So yeah, I mean, these are all beautiful images. And here's your call to action. Let's plan your next great adventure. And I would even add to clarify, call us at 661, right? Again, just to kind of dial in and clarify. So nice. So contact us today. See, and then there's the phone number there. But I would also, instead of, so there's a lot here, unlimited drinks, contact us. So making sure that travel is such an easy industry, because there's so many cool travel photos you could post. And this could be instead movies on the beach. Who would want to try this? Right? Something like that, to where it's more general.
Yeah, I agree. And I we're using something called Rallyo now, that's auto post, but also like you're talking about, like, I don't want everything to be salesy, you know what I mean? To really like just give information or just engage in other topics.
Exactly. Yeah. Imagine yourself on the beach right here. And you could even say, like, did you know, like, Costa Rica is like the most eco-sustainable country in South America? Right? Kind of targeting to people who would want to go on like an eco vacation, so to speak.
Great idea.
So, so again, like shareable content, things that are, relevant to your customer, thinking about what do they like? Is your customer concerned about green travel, right? And so maybe sharing information around different like countries or services or activities that would add to that.
Okay.
Like diving in a little bit more to their persona, what they care about, and creating content that's shareable, relevant to that.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, great. Okay, well, there's a lot more, but for me, I'm sorry, I do have to run. I started a new job, so I do have to get back to work.
Raychel, do you do consulting? Some people have asked.
I'm open to consulting. I would be happy to speak to some people. I mean, as a previous member of the chamber and as a San Fernando Valley native, I would love to see businesses succeed. And so I would, be happy to have some one-on-one chats and to help.
So if you're interested in having talked to Raychel about consulting, just shoot me an email. Most of you, I think, have my email. You got it when you signed up for the webinar, and we could connect you. And I know Rachel's got to go to her new job. We want to thank you for an amazing social media workshop.